The van had been parked at the trailhead when I started my run. When I came back 45 minutes later, it was parked at the exit point 3 miles away, and the driver was standing outside, holding a bouquet of flowers, smiling at me. I need to tell you about something that happened to me in Portland, Oregon, in March of last year. Something that made me completely change how I think about running alone. I was training for a half marathon, running 4 to 5 times a week. My favorite route was the Forest Park Trail System, over 80 miles of trails, most of them relatively isolated, beautiful, peaceful, exactly what I needed after sitting at a desk all day. I had a regular route, 6 miles. I'd run up to Pittock Mansion, then loop back down through a different trail to where a friend would pick me up at the upper entrance. It saved me from having to run the same path twice. I'd been doing this route every Tuesday and Thursday morning for 3 months. That Tuesday started normal. I parked at 6:45 a.m., stretched, started my warm-up. As I was leaving the parking area, I noticed a white cargo van, unmarked, tinted windows. It was parked in the corner spot, backed into the space. The engine was off. I couldn't see anyone inside. I thought nothing of it. Trailhead parking lot. People leave cars there all the time. I started my run. The first 2 miles were uphill, challenging. I was focused on my breathing, my pace, my form. I passed maybe 3 other runners going the opposite direction. Normal Tuesday morning on a popular trail. At mile 4, I reached my turnaround point and started the descent toward Upper Maclay. This section of trail is more isolated. Fewer people use it. Dense forest on both sides. The canopy blocks most of the light even during the day. At mile 5.8, just 10 minutes from the exit, I came around a bend and saw the parking area ahead through the trees. The white van was there. Same van, same tinted windows, parked in the small lot at Upper Maclay. I slowed to a walk. My heart rate jumped, but not from running. That van had been at the opposite trailhead, 3 miles away. The only way to get between those 2 points by car was to drive through neighborhoods, around the park perimeter, at least a 20-minute drive. I'd been running for 45 minutes. The van had driven from the start point to the end point while I was running between them. I stood on the trail about 50 yards from the parking area, trying to decide what to do. My friend wasn't picking me up for another 10 minutes. I was alone. The van was the only vehicle in the lot. Then the driver's door opened. A man stepped out, maybe 40, average height, baseball cap, jeans. He was holding something. Flowers. A bouquet of red roses. He saw me standing on the trail, smiled, waved, like he was expecting me. Every instinct I had screamed at me to run back the way I came. But that would mean running away from help, away from potential witnesses, deeper into isolated forest. I pulled out my phone, texted my friend. "I'm at the exit now. Emergency. Come now." Then I opened my camera and started recording. Held the phone, obviously. Made sure the man could see I was filming him. "Hey there," he called out. His voice was friendly, casual. "These are for you. Congratulations on your run." I didn't move, didn't respond, just kept the camera pointed at him, at his face, at the van, at the license plate. "I've been watching you train," he continued, like this was a normal conversation. "Every Tuesday and Thursday, 6:45 a.m. Same route. You're so dedicated, so consistent. I really admire that." My hands were shaking. I kept recording. "Stay away from me," I said. Loud. Clear. "I don't know you. Don't come closer." He stopped walking, still smiling. "I just wanted to encourage you. Let you know someone notices your hard work. That's all." "How did you know I'd be here?" I asked. "At this parking lot?" His smile widened. "I told you. I've been watching you train. I know your route. I know you always end here. Tuesday and Thursday. Like clockwork." Before I could respond, I heard a car engine. My friend's Toyota pulled into the lot. She saw me on the trail, saw the man with flowers, saw my expression. She got out of her car. "You okay?" The man's smile disappeared. He looked at her, back at me, set the flowers on the hood of the van, got back in, started the engine. "Wait!" I shouted, but the van was already moving. It pulled out of the lot, turned onto the road. Gone. My friend ran over to me. "What the hell was that?" I was shaking. Showed her the video on my phone. We called 911, gave them the license plate, description, everything. The police ran the plates, came back to a rental company. The van had been rented 3 weeks earlier. Cash payment, fake ID. The rental company couldn't track who actually had it. The detective I spoke with said something terrifying. He knew your exact route, your exact timing. He'd been tracking you long enough to know you'd be at that specific exit point within a 10-minute window. He waited at the start, confirmed you were running that day, then drove to intercept you at the end. "Why flowers?" I asked. The detective looked uncomfortable. "My theory? He was testing you, seeing how you'd react to a friendly approach. If you'd accepted the flowers, engaged with him, gotten close enough to the van, I think that was the goal, to see if you'd lower your guard. The van was never found. No other reports came in matching the description. The flowers were left behind. No fingerprints except the floral shop workers. The roses had been purchased that morning at 6:15 a.m., paid in cash. The shop clerk remembered the man but couldn't provide any useful details. I stopped running outdoor trails alone, started driving to a high-traffic park with my running group, eventually bought a treadmill because I can't stop thinking about what he said. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 6:45 a.m., like clockwork. How many times had he watched me before I noticed the van? How long had he been planning whatever he was planning? And what would have happened if I'd been polite? If I'd accepted the flowers? If I'd gotten close enough for him to grab me? I'll never know. But I know I'm never giving anyone that opportunity again. Before I continue, I need to say something. If you're someone who runs alone, hikes alone, or exercises in isolated areas, please subscribe to this channel. I share these stories not to create fear, but to create awareness. The like button helps this reach other runners who need to hear it. And turn on notifications, because the next story I'm sharing might literally save your life. Now let me tell you about someone who learned that the most dangerous thing about routine isn't the route, it's the predictability. Sarah runs every morning at 5:30 a.m., has for years. She lives in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Minneapolis. Tree-lined streets, low crime, the kind of place where people don't lock their doors. Sarah's route was simple. 4 miles, through the neighborhood, past the elementary school, around the small lake, back home. She knew every crack in the sidewalk, every house, every dog that barked as she passed, and she knew Tom. Everyone in the neighborhood knew Tom. He was the morning regular, older man, maybe 65, retired. He walked the same route every morning, always had a walking stick, always wore a reflective vest, always waved at the runners and walkers. Sarah had been seeing Tom on her runs for 2 years. They'd exchange pleasantries. Morning, beautiful day, stay safe out there, standard neighborly interaction. He seemed harmless, friendly, just a retiree staying active. Early December last year, Sarah noticed Tom started carrying something new, a camera, one of those expensive DSLRs with a long lens. He told her he'd taken up bird photography, showed her some shots of cardinals and blue jays. They were good, really good. Sarah thought it was nice, a new hobby, something to keep him engaged. They'd sometimes stop and chat about what birds he'd seen, what he was hoping to photograph. Normal conversations. But then Sarah's coworker mentioned something strange. She lived in the same neighborhood, also ran in the mornings. Different route, different time, around 6:15 a.m. She'd seen Tom too, with his camera. He'd told her the same thing. Bird photography. Showed her the same cardinal photos. But here's what bothered her. Tom was always positioned at intersections, places where multiple streets converged, where he'd have sightlines down multiple roads. And he was always facing the direction the runners were coming from. Sarah started paying attention, really paying attention, and her coworker was right. Tom wasn't randomly positioned. He was at strategic spots, places where runners passed, and his camera was always pointed down the street, not up at trees, not at bird feeders, down, at runner eye level. One morning, Sarah tested something. She left 15 minutes early, 5:15 instead of 5:30, took her normal route. Tom was already there, at his usual spot, with his camera, positioned to photograph the street, 15 minutes before Sarah normally ran past. He seemed surprised to see her early, fumbled with his camera. "Oh, you're ahead of schedule today." Sarah felt cold. "How would you know my schedule?" Tom laughed. "I see you every morning. Same time, same route. We're both creatures of habit, right?" Sarah didn't stop to chat. She finished her run, went home, started thinking. Tom knew her schedule. He positioned himself to photograph runners. He'd been doing this for months. Why? She mentioned it to her husband. He suggested maybe Tom really was just into bird photography. Maybe Sarah was reading too much into it. But Sarah couldn't shake it. She started running at different times, different routes, avoiding the spots where Tom usually positioned himself. And within 3 days, Tom found her, on a completely different route, at a completely different time, positioned with his camera, ready. "There you are," he said cheerfully. "I noticed you changed your routine, keeping things fresh, smart." Sarah didn't respond, just ran past, went straight home, called the police. The officer who came to take her report was understanding but limited in what he could do. "He's on public property. Photography in public isn't illegal. Has he approached you? Threatened you? Followed you in a vehicle?" "No. But he knows my schedule. He repositions to find me when I change routes. That's not normal." The officer agreed it was concerning but not illegal. He said he'd talk to Tom, ask him to give Sarah space. That was all he could do. The next morning, Sarah got a note in her mailbox. Handwritten. It said, "I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I'm just a lonely old man who enjoys morning walks and photography. I hope you'll forgive me. I won't bother you anymore. Tom." Sarah felt guilty. Maybe she had overreacted. Maybe Tom really was just a lonely retiree who happened to be at the wrong places at the wrong times. She didn't see Tom for a week. No sightings on any of her runs. Different times, different routes. He was gone. Then Sarah's coworker called her, frantic. "Did you see the news?" A woman had been attacked while running. Different neighborhood, about 10 miles from Sarah's area. Early morning. The attacker had grabbed her from behind, tried to pull her into a vehicle. She'd fought back, escaped, got a partial plate number. The attacker's description: male, mid-60s, gray hair, reflective vest. The vehicle: a silver sedan. The same make and model that Sarah had seen Tom getting into one morning when she'd run past the neighborhood parking lot. The police couldn't confirm it was Tom. The partial plate didn't match his vehicle registration, but it was close. 2 digits different, possibly a fake plate. Tom hasn't been seen in Sarah's neighborhood since. His house, Sarah finally figured out which one was his, looks empty. Mail piling up. Car gone. The police are looking for him, for questioning, not as a suspect, just as someone who might have information. But they can't find him, and Sarah lives with the knowledge that she was friendly to someone who might have been documenting her, learning her patterns, preparing for something. And when she changed her routine, when she became unpredictable, He either gave up on her or moved on to someone else, someone with a more consistent schedule, someone who hadn't noticed what he was doing. Sarah runs on a treadmill now, in her basement, where no one can photograph her, track her, learn her patterns, because she learned that predators don't always look like predators. Sometimes they look like lonely old men with cameras and bird photography hobbies. Sometimes they wave and smile and seem harmless for years, until they're not. I'm going to call the owner of this story Jessica. She gave me permission to share this. Jessica joined a running group in her city. I'm not going to say which city, for reasons that will become clear. The group met 3 times a week: Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 6 p.m. They'd run various routes, always together, safety in numbers. The group was about 15 people, mix of ages and fitness levels. They'd split into pace groups, faster runners up front, slower runners in back, but everyone stayed within sight of each other. Jessica was in the medium pace group, usually ran with the same 4 or 5 people. They became friends, socialized outside of running. Normal running group dynamics. One of the guys in her pace group was named Mike, mid-30s, friendly, funny, always encouraging. Jessica liked him, not romantically, just as a friend, a running buddy. Mike had been with the group for about 6 months when Jessica joined. He was reliable, never missed a run, always on time. People liked him. After about 2 months, Mike asked Jessica if she'd be interested in running some extra miles on off days. He was training for a marathon, needed to build mileage. Would she want to join him for some long runs on weekends? Jessica said, sure. Seemed normal. Lots of runners in the group did extra runs together outside the scheduled meetups. They met that Sunday, 7 a.m., at a trailhead on the outskirts of the city, planned to run 12 miles. Mike said he knew a great route, scenic, not too challenging. They started running. Mile 1, 2, 3. Good conversation, good pace. Jessica was enjoying it. At mile 4, Mike suggested they take a shortcut through a side trail, said it would save them a mile and loop them back to the parking area more efficiently. Jessica hesitated. She didn't know these trails, but Mike seemed confident. He'd run here before. She trusted him. They took the side trail. It was narrower, less maintained. Jessica started feeling uneasy, but told herself she was being paranoid. At about mile 5, they came to a fork. Mike confidently took the left path. It led downhill, into denser forest. Jessica's discomfort grew. "Are you sure this is right?" she asked. "Yeah, I've done this route a bunch of times. Trust me." But something in his tone had changed. The friendliness was gone, replaced with something else, impatience maybe, or annoyance that she'd questioned him. They ran for another 10 minutes. Jessica realized she had no idea where they were. No cell service. Deep in the forest. Completely dependent on Mike to navigate them back. That's when Mike stopped running. Sat down on a fallen log. "Let's take a break." Jessica didn't want to stop. "I'm good. Let's keep moving. Just a few minutes. I need to catch my breath." Mike didn't look like he needed to catch his breath. Jessica's alarm bells were ringing loudly now. She pulled out her phone. No signal. She tried to orient herself, tried to figure out which direction was back to the parking lot. Mike was watching her. "You don't trust me. I just want to make sure I know where we are. You think I got us lost on purpose?" The way he said it, the edge in his voice, Jessica realized she was alone in the woods with someone she barely knew. Someone who'd led her deep into an unfamiliar area. Someone whose demeanor had completely shifted. "I think I'm going to head back," Jessica said, trying to keep her voice calm. "I'm not feeling great. Think I might be coming down with something." Mike stood up. "You're not sick. You're paranoid. I just want to go back to the parking lot. We're 5 miles in. You don't know the way back. You need me to guide you." And there it was, the implicit threat. You're dependent on me. You're isolated. You have no choice but to do what I say. Jessica made a decision. She started running, back the way they'd come, uphill, away from Mike. He called after her. "Jessica, what the hell? You're going the wrong way." She didn't stop, didn't look back, just ran. As fast as she could, her only thought was to get away. She heard him behind her, running, following, catching up. He was faster than her. Jessica saw another trail branching off. She took it. Random choice, just trying to evade, create distance. She ran for what felt like forever, her lungs burning, legs screaming, but she didn't stop. Eventually, she burst out onto a paved road, a highway, cars passing, civilization. She flagged down a car, an elderly couple. They let her call 911 from their phone, drove her to the nearest police station. Jessica filed a report, described what happened. The police went to the trailhead. Mike's car was gone. They tried to contact him. His phone was disconnected. The address he'd given the running group was fake. His social media accounts deleted. Mike vanished. The running group had no real information about him. He'd paid cash for group fees, never given anyone his real contact information, just showed up for runs, integrated himself, gained trust. 3 months later, police in a neighboring state arrested a man matching Mike's description. He'd lured a woman to a remote hiking area under similar circumstances, but she hadn't escaped. She'd been assaulted, left for dead, survived by chance. A park ranger found her. When shown a photo, Jessica identified him. Same man, same Mike. Turns out Mike had been doing this for years, joining running groups, building trust, identifying targets, luring them to isolated areas. He'd attacked at least 6 women across 4 states. Jessica was one of the only ones who escaped unharmed. The reason? She trusted her instincts. She ran. She didn't rationalize away her discomfort. She didn't worry about being polite or not offending him. When every alarm in her body was screaming danger, she listened. Jessica doesn't run trails anymore, doesn't run with people she doesn't know extremely well. And she tells everyone who'll listen, trust your gut, always. Because predators rely on your desire to be polite, to not make a scene, to give them the benefit of the doubt. They weaponize your social conditioning against you. Jessica broke that conditioning, ran when every instinct said run, and it saved her life. I'm going to be honest with you. I bought a treadmill after researching these stories, and I don't regret it. Some people might say I'm being paranoid, that these are rare incidents, that I shouldn't let fear control my life. But here's what I learned. Every single person in these stories was being careful. They were running in daylight, in populated areas, with friends, with groups. They were doing everything right. And they still encountered danger, because predators don't follow the rules. They adapt, they learn, they exploit our patterns and our trust. So yes, I run on a treadmill now, and I vary my outdoor exercise routes, and I never, ever maintain a predictable schedule. Not because I'm afraid, but because I'm aware. If you run, hike, or exercise alone, change your patterns, vary your times, trust your instincts, and if something feels wrong, it probably is. I hope you never need this information, but if you do, I hope you remember these stories, and I hope you run. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.